The birth of a child is a joyous occasion. Yet sometimes today, the birth of a girl child is no reason to celebrate. A girl, a woman, has to fight for her right to education, health, and employment because of a deep-rooted belief in this society that women are somehow inferior. But in the eyes of science, men are not necessarily from Mars and women not necessarily from Venus. Neuroscience says there's not much of a difference between the brain of a male and a female child. Both consist of billions of neurons that transmit all our emotions: love, hate, passion, and grit. And every once in a while, these neurons help craft exalted humans. Mega icons. Is it eventuality or evolution that creates these rare individuals? Or does life experiences mold some mere mortals into geniuses? The answer to whether geniuses are born or made eludes us. On Mega Icons, we embark on this journey to take a step closer to that answer. And today, we dive deep into the life history of one of India's first women to be on an enviably long list of first. India's first woman IPS officer. India's first woman Inspector General of Prisons. The first woman to be appointed as the United Nations Civilian Police Advisor. Kiran Bedi is an iconoclast who generated a ripple effect for gender equality in India. Known for her fearlessness, was Kiran Bedi's spirit to fight hard-coded into her DNA, or was it nurtured over time? Was Kiran Bedi a born genius, or was she made into one? That is the question.
At the stroke of the midnight hour, when the world sleeps, India will awake to life and freedom. A moment comes, which comes but rarely in history, when we step out from the old to the new, when an age ends, and when the soul of a nation, long suppressed, finds utterance.
The men and women of this nation had broken the shackles and won their hard-fought freedom. But the ground reality was a little different. The men were free, not the women. In the years following India's freedom, women could not think of filing for divorce, get equal inheritance from her parents, were subjected to domestic violence at home, and to sexual harassment at work. In fact, the practice of dowry wasn't even illegal. Why were the societal rules for men and women so drastically different? Are men and women really so different?
Brains of men and women are indistinguishable in almost all respects. Structurally, in terms of connectivity, it's very, very hard to find robust differences. There are, of course, differences in the kinds of hormones that our bodies and our brains will produce depending on biological gender. So there's going to be more testosterone for men, there's going to be more estrogen for women, and these hormones do have effects on how our brains and bodies work.
In a lopsided, unbalanced society, heavily tilted in favor of men, a girl was born in 1949 Amritsar. The birth of this girl would go on to create a ripple effect of which waves are felt even today. Born in a man's world, devoted to a job reserved for men and outdoing men in it, this girl did not just make a point, she made a difference. She is
I was fighting injustice.
Dr. Kiran Bedi.
And if I wouldn't break it, then who else will? girls were considered liabilities at that time. And I knew parents were stitching, sewing, saving for the girls to be married off. 99.9% during my time I saw parents thinking these are transferable assets. They are our assets, but they are to be transferred away. They don't belong to us. We are grooming them, but they belong elsewhere.
At the time when she was born, things were very different in the traditional North Indian families. Girls especially were not given much opportunities to either progress in career or to be involved in sports.
I didn't see my parents saving for us to be married off. We found them investing into our education, sports, and upbringing. I never saw my parents ever saying, oh God, I got 4 girls. I think he had a dream for us. He had a vision.
The perception of men and women is also really different. Because our society has such different beliefs about girls and boys, we teach girls and boys to act in really different ways. Girls are taught to be more careful, boys are taught to be more adventurous and more brave, and are rewarded for doing that. And so as a result, by the time you get to adulthood and you've heard all of these messages, people end up acting very, very differently.
Kiran Bedi was the second of the 4 girl children to be born to Prakash Lal and Premlata Peshawariya.
I think it's interesting how we were imbibed with how people would react and how does it matter to you. The parents have said, it doesn't matter to you what they say. What matters to you is what is right, correct for you. Just go ahead.
The parents wanted the world for their girls. But before the girls could even step out of their door, there was a bitter battle to be fought. While the father fought to provide the best education to them, their grandfather believed that girls were to be married off with a heavy dowry.
That's the time when my father put his foot down and said, Papa, you've controlled my life, but I'll not let you control my daughter's life.
My grandparents were willing to do whatever it took to give equal education to all 4 daughters. They really gave her the wings to fly. They had big dreams for her.
The human brain particularly is more plastic than any other animal brain. And particularly in the first 10 to 14 years of growth, the neurons make lots of new connections. And those new connections depend on what is the societal context in which they are growing. When a girl is grown in a family which doesn't treat the girl as another human individual, and if they're treated differently and they are not given proper nutrition, it's definitely going to stunt their cognitive abilities.
My mother was an academic. Nothing she loved more than seeing children study. So she taught us, brought us up in a manner by which we are healthy to study. And Daddy would see that we eat well so that we play.
She was so focused about tennis. Our school would close at about 3 o'clock. From 3 straight, she will go to tennis lawns.
So focused was she on the sport that she did something that made heads turn. Eyebrows were raised and shocked whispers went around. A simple act was going to become another stroke of destiny's brush that would not only alter her life, but perhaps the lives of millions of women across the country.
I couldn't manage long hair in playing tennis. It used to be all wet, drenched. And then I had to tie them all the time and they would hit my eye. So I said, Daddy, Mommy, these are coming in my way. Can I get rid of them? They said, yes, go. So there was only a barber. So it was across my tennis court. I dropped my racket, I ran across and said, cut my hair. And then after that, he gave me a haircut, which he was used to, because that was a male barber shop. So he gave me this hairdress.
People said, what have you done? You're looking like a boy. She said, it doesn't matter. They were troubling me. I've got them removed.
Started to enjoy my tennis even more. It made me enjoy my life more.
जब हम गेम खेलते हैं तो एक हमारी जिन जिन पार्ट्स का इन्वॉल्वमेंट होता है उन पार्ट्स की न्यूरो एक्टिविटीज स्ट्रांग होती है और उनका न्यूरोप्लास्टिसिटी जो है ब्रेन की प्लास्टिसिटी जो है वो स्ट्रांग होती है। उससे उसके माइंड में एक तरह का सर्किट ऐसा बनता है, एक इस प्रकार न्यूरो पाथवे इस प्रकार से बनते हैं कि जो एक हैप्पी हार्मोन्स को रिलीज करते हैं। उस ब्रेन में उसके सेरेबेलम में जहाँ उसको मसल्स मेमोरी बनती है चीज़ों को, ऐसे ही जो फ्रंटल कॉर्टेक्स है और जो सेरेब्रल कॉर्टेक्स है इनमें जो है वो ग्रॉस मोटर एक्टिविटी की जो लिंक्स बनते हैं वो सारी मेमोरी बनती। ये प्रक्रिया जब बार बार एक खिलाड़ी बार बार इस खेल के मैदान में खेलता है तो जिनमें बहुत फाइन तरीके से वो न्यूरोट्रांसमीटर्स का लिंक बन जाता है, उसकी कॉग्निटिव सेंस डेवलप होता और एक अच्छा खिलाड़ी बन जाता है।
Perhaps the challenges she faced as a tennis player prepared her for the challenges she would face as an adult later. So, the question to crack now was whether the instinct to win then hard-coded in her DNA, or was it developed in the nurturing environment of her home?
I've grown up seeing Daddy play. Daddy play competitive tennis, tournaments in Amritsar and elsewhere. And I just walked into it. So the playground was a regular evening recreation for the whole family.
Most of our body actions and what we see, someone else's body actions, which basically reflect on us through our mirror neurons, and we actually feel that we can also do the same way. So if a child likes, let's say, tennis, and if they watch in real life someone else is playing good tennis, they try to imitate that person, right? And if there's some discipline so that they can practice as well, I'm sure they will be very good, successful.
Then came another squish of the brush. One more dot was joined, and a picture was progressively emerging.
Amritsar in 1960-70 was very conservative. And for a girl to ride was a big thing. But she didn't bother about any stairs. She didn't bother about any whistles. She was focused that she has to do it. She has to ride a moped, she will.
The forehand, the backhand, the serve and volley, the haircut, the bike, the English medium education. These were the colors splashed on the canvas of Kiran's childhood. All of these in themselves were small events, but together they created a gigantic storm. A storm that gathered momentum in 1972 when she joined the Indian Police Service.
In July 72, when we all went to Mussoorie to join our foundational course there, Kiran was also one of the IPS trainees there. When we went to Mount Abu for our professional course, she was the only lady officer among 80 plus officers. Being a lady, she chose to join a service like police service, which had hitherto been a domain of male officers only. She competed with the male officers. And I will say that in many of these areas, she may not have been the best, but she did better than many of the male officers, yes.
So I did the same course as the boys. Went through the same conditions as they did. The reason was that I'd already lived my life like that. When I was playing with the boys in playing tennis, beating the boys, playing mixed doubles, etc., I was a part of the whole ecosystem. So how was it different?
80 policemen passed out from this batch. Just that, not all of them were policemen. One was a police woman, India's first ever woman IPS officer.
I remember quite clearly, I was the senior superintendent of police for North Delhi. I'm not seeing her as a woman here. I'm seeing her as an officer. I'm going to train her as an officer. And I gave her a very stern warning. I said, you are not going to be judged presently for being an officer. You are now in a men's world. Now you have to prove that you are better than them. Until the day you are able to prove that, you will be referred to as a chokri.
Just as in tennis, in life too, things change rapidly. The chokri found her A game on the streets of Delhi one summer afternoon. And before sunset, she had become Sir. On a sweltering day in New Delhi, a raging fire had engulfed a settlement, trapping many within its lethal flames. The crowd of onlookers could only watch helplessly. For Kiran Bedi, this would be a trial by fire.
There was a communal riot in Sadar Bazaar area. Some women were trapped in a fire situation. See how you can bring them out. There was a head constable, old head constable, and he said, sir, madam वहाँ गई और वहाँ अंदर शोर हो रहा था औरतों का. हमने देखा, मैडम ने कहा कि ये वाटर पंप है यहाँ पे. मैंने वो वाटर पंप चलाया, मैडम ने अपने आप को गीला किया, तो मैडम बिल्कुल आगे अंदर चली गई.
I think my whole training, my entire sports, my entire stamina, my entire learning of my life, I think was right before me.
वहाँ वो औरतें रो रही थी, चीख रही थी. मैडम जो पहली औरत दिखाई दी उन्हें, उन्होंने उसको एक जोर से लपड़ मारा उसको और उसको कहा बाहर निकलो. हम लोगों ने फिर और जो थे बच्चे सब उठाए और हम लोग बाहर आ गए.
Sprinting across the length of a tennis court, stretching, diving, reaching the ball is instinct. The same instinct that makes a player reach for the ball is what perhaps saved the lives of 17 women and children.
When you are in an individual sport, you are always a fighter. And you need to fight it out as a part of the competition, as a part of the game, as a part of the sportsman's spirit. So that actually later on gives that person a lot of practice, be able to deal with stressful situations. That gives a person a lot more confidence that they've been able to do that. At the time when she was playing tennis, she didn't know that she would do all these things. But that came as a sort of a training that she's had towards being able to deal with things on her own or with a very small team and, you know, be able to fight it out.
People who jump in and try to help others in a fire, or people who jump in and perform these heroic acts, often when you ask them, what were you thinking when you ran into that burning building? Their answer is, I wasn't thinking. I just knew what I had to do. I just had to do it.
All I know is that I soaked and I went and pulled people out.
Here was the incident where this lady, this young lady, had impressed these old professionals with her bravery, her initiative, and also saved the situation for the police and got the admiration and the rank of a sir. Her gender had been totally suppressed.
I faced this kind of situation another time too, when I had the another agitation where they had the swords and I had the danda.
By this time, the Khalistan movement in India was gaining steam. It led to Operation Blue Star, Prime Minister Indira Gandhi's assassination, and the bloody riots that followed it. In 1978, things were starting to get ominous. People were scared. The atmosphere was nerve-wracking. There was anger and fear in the air. Mobs had started to gather. A bloody chapter in the nation's history was about to be written. During one such gathering of angry Sikh protesters with swords, a rather unusual picture made it to the front page of newspapers.
When we're faced with a stressful emergency situation, your brain is going to process that information in a variety of ways. There's going to be an alarm signal that goes off, and it's natural for anyone to feel fear in an emergency situation like that. For some people, when they're faced with a frightening situation, the right solution is to spring into action and do what they can. Other people choose not to act. They might freeze, or they might not feel themselves powerful enough to do anything about it.
I just did what I was given. And I felt it was my duty to do.
What makes a person jump in the fire, charged at raised, sharpened swords? When a human brain perceives a situation of extreme danger, its survival instinct kicks in. But in the case of this young officer, the instinct to charge at danger overrode everything else. In a fight or flight situation, Kiran Bedi always picked the same option, and it wasn't to flee.
कोई ऐसी चीज आती है जहां रिस्क होता है, बट हम वो ब्रेन रियलाइज करता है कि मेरे ब्रेन को अधिकतम खुशी कब मिलेगी, भाग करके मिलेगी या मुझे फाइट करके मिलेगी चीजों को। तो वो व्यक्ति लर्न किया होता है, हजारों बार उस प्रोसेस से गुजरा हुआ होता है। फ्लाइट एंड फाइट सिचुएशंस वो व्यक्ति चुनता है कि मुझे फाइट करना चाहिए हैं, बिकॉज वो ज्यादा उसे प्लेजर देता है चैलेंजेस को लेना, सिचुएशंस को लेना, उसको रिवॉर्ड करना, ना कि उससे हट जाना चीजों को। हमारे ब्रेन का लिम्बिक सिस्टम में हमारे इमोशंस न्यूरॉन्स फायर होते, पूरे अंदर में एड्रेनलिन हार्मोन्स सेक्रेट हो जाते। बॉडी जैसे डिसीजन लेता सिचुएशन को देख करके, बॉडी में अधिक मात्रा में ग्लूकोज एड्रेनलिन हार्मोन, जो फियर का हार्मोन है, तेजी के साथ फायर करने लगता। ब्रेन को कमांड देता, पिट्यूटरी ग्लैंड कमांड देता कि उसको फाइट करने लगती।
Why does Kiran Bedi repeatedly choose the dangers of fight over the security of flight? The answer cannot be an easy one. Is it the strong sense of right and wrong imbibed since her childhood? Or is it the sports training that helps her mount a counter-challenge instead of surrendering?
Courage and bravery grow, they don't suddenly come.
Or is fight a script coded into her DNA?
I don't think you can make somebody fearless. You come with it. She's come with it. It's a part of her DNA, it's a part of her genetic system, it's a part of her blood. There's not going to be another Dr. Bedi. This is who she is.
Kiran Bedi was soon becoming a household name across the country. She was amongst India's first poster girls of women empowerment, even more so after winning the prestigious President's Police Medal for gallantry in 1979. In 1981, she was made the DCP of Traffic.
So as DCP Traffic in Delhi, she tried to bring in some semblance of discipline, I will say, in the otherwise chaotic traffic situation here. And one of the things was that cars used to be parked everywhere. Naturally, many of those cars were towed away, and that is why I think she got this nickname of being a Kiran Bedi.
There was only one policy. It's very easy to govern and administer if you have only one principle: follow the law, follow the rules, no exceptions.
She was quite strict in implementing the law and the rules that time. She did not, care for whether it affected some influential person or it was a common man. For her, an illegal thing was an illegal thing.
This ambassador vehicle, which belonged to the house of the Prime Minister, that was wrongly parked on Parliament Street.
And my officer called Nirmal Singh went up to him saying, "You are violating." He says, "जानता नहीं है मैं किसकी गाड़ी है? ये Prime Minister की गाड़ी है." He said, "अच्छा, एक बारी और बोलूँगा, जाने दो, नहीं तो मैं अभी crane लगाऊँगा." He surely gave him a ticket. Then he called me. He said, "Ma'am, I prosecuted Prime Minister's car." I said, "Very good."
I'm absolutely with you on this.
My DIG was called and he said, "This is what she's done." And my DIG said, "I can't speak to her. There's no point reaching out to her. She's done what she does."
What is being in the society considered as an average behavior, it is not the correct one. We need to actually better it. And that's what basically a non-conformist always try to do.
Much more than the neuroscience of non-conformist, it is their personality. They are fearless. They are not bothered about fear of failure. So having non-conformists in any organization, even police, is actually a big asset, because they can think in a very different way so that they could bring reforms as she did.
In public life, the very appearance of a senior woman officer would put public leaders a little off.
When you try to implement innovative things, new things, there are vested interests who oppose it.
Kiran Bedi's penchant for following the letter of the law was brought to fore by another incident.
A particular lawyer, he was caught stealing a small amount in a college campus, and on the complaint of students, she sent a constable to arrest him. When that person came to Tisazari court, he was handcuffed by her constable. And when the lawyers saw that, it triggered a huge event which went on for almost 3 years, in which she and the lawyers, the Delhi Bar Association, were eye to eye, in a confrontation.
They were seeking justice for a lawyer who we handcuffed. It was a marathon test of my stamina. Because on one hand, you had the community of lawyers on one side. The other hand, you had just me.
Now the Supreme Court bans anyone to be handcuffed, even if it is a criminal. The police manual, on the contrary, says if the constable who has arrested somebody and that person escapes, then there is dismissal for the constable. So this constable had gone without a vehicle. He was actually getting the accused in a bus. So how is a single constable going to get somebody he's going to handcuff?
So he had a justified reason for handcuffing. And now the pressure on me was to suspend this officer, an assistant sub-inspector, who was probably about 58-year-old man, nearing 2 years to retire. I said, no, he's done the right thing. They said, no, if you do not suspend him, then you get out. You are out. Asking for my transfer.
She stood ground and she brought this to the attention of the entire press ecosystem. I think that speaks a long yard about leadership when you stand up for the last man in your organization for a right thing. There was a very big agitation on a crucial day when her hearing was going on. About 4,000 people, demonstrators, apparently came to Tisazari to campaign in her support.
It escalated to violence.
The lawyers would not allow anybody to represent her.
It was a most trying period of my life where I had to every day be in the court, every day at work, prepare till night for the lawyer's brief, appear in person before the court, seek bail for myself, because the lawyers knew the law much more, and they tried to break me to the maximum. The lawyer's issue was not a 3-set match. It was a 9-set match I played. Then I said, no, you found your match then. Then I became a match. I was fighting injustice. And if I wouldn't break it, then who else will?
Her trouble with the lawyers was over when she was deputed from Deputy Commissioner of Police in North Delhi to Deputy Inspector General in Mizoram. But soon she was back in Delhi as Inspector General of Tihar prisons, a position which was lying vacant for 9 months.
I've never decided any position of mine. All I've decided is, what do I do with the posting I get?
Tihar jail at that time was considered a place where you put the unwanted. People are under trials, which means that the charges against them are still to be proved. They could as well be innocent.
How is Kiran Bedi going to be a guide for thousands of hardened men and women of Tihar? Being a nonconformist, once again, she looked out of the box and came up with an idea that changed the face of prison reforms in the country. In 1993, at the age of 43, Kiran Bedi was made India's first woman Inspector General of Tihar prisons. Tihar is the largest prison complex in South Asia with over thousands of inmates.
Prison was every day full of joys and sorrows. I wish I had a solution which could enable these inmates, these prisoners, reflect for themselves a source course of correction. We started the program Vipassana with the hardened criminals. Vipassana is a program where you look within, you see within, you do your own audit. By the 10th day, when they broke silence, many of them were in tears, and they asked for forgiveness.
It's a matter of record that we had the largest Vipassana camp inside any prisons in the world, first time, and more than 1,000 prisoners were put to Vipassana meditation program.
This story went viral. We had all channels, international and national channels. We had the Ministry of Home Affairs witness it. And it is that which became the turning point, where the Ministry of Home Affairs said all prisoners should do this program.
Quiet contemplation wasn't the only feature of Kiran Bedi's prison reform program. Along with the silence came sweat, skill training, and action.
So all the prisoners were either getting educated or doing some kind of vocational work, or they are doing meditation. We started running schools. So those classes were run by prisoners mostly who were educated. The biggest change that happened in Tihar jail was bringing the NGO in a big way into the prisons. And that was a landmark decision in prison reforms.
There would be people who would come and train them for carpentry, for cooking, for sewing. There will be people who donated sewing machines. So they, would give them material to learn papad making and, small things, so that when they get out, they become productive members of the society.
For me, it was a vibrant living city where people were there to heal in body, mind, and soul.
This was an initiative that caught the eye of the world. Amongst the masses in India, Kiran was being hailed as a change maker, a path breaker, a game changer. There are no statistics available to state how many young women in the country wanted to be like Kiran Bedi. But if there were, they would only state the obvious: thousands and thousands and thousands.
If you covered somebody who's doing good governance and good policing, perhaps you will have more younger police officers follow and do the same, get inspired, get empowered. And that is what we require in India. We require good stories to be shown.
We stabilized prison reform program, and that prison reform program has gone all over the world now.
Kiran Bedi's contributions won her the prestigious Ramon Magsaysay Award in 1994. International awards and appreciation had become a regular feature of her life, but just like all her previous achievements, this one too came with its share of criticism.
Though there were lots of opposition about what all we did in the 2 years, because those were path-breaking reform things. So some people would be critical about it, that whether you should be doing in a particular way. Mrs. Bedi worked in Tihar for 2 years as IG prisons, and thereafter, with the government order, she was transferred.
Kiran Bedi was made the Director General Home Guards in charge of training new IPS recruits at the Police Academy. Kiran Bedi, the officer, was made here. Now Kiran Bedi, the trainer, was going to make more officers. Life had come a full circle.
People don't join police for the right reason. Some people want it because it means power. Some people want it because it means money. Some people want it because it's just a secure government job. They have no inspiration to be part of the policing department. And you have a person who's joined the police force for all the wrong reasons. What do? You got to train the man. You got to inspire him. So she was doing the right thing, training them, because she said this is where good policing begins.
Kiran Bedi had imparted her knowledge to new police recruits, shared her experiences, and had them battle ready. In light of the immense work she had done in her career, she was appointed the new civilian police advisor in the United Nations Department of Peacekeeping Operations in 2003. And in 2004, she was honored with a UN Medal for Outstanding Service. In 2007, she wore the police uniform for the last time.
She was expecting, as the senior most officer, to be made the Commissioner of Police in Delhi, which did not happen. Why that is so, I'm not an insider to the policing system. But if it had happened, I think the police force at large would have gained from it.
No position is permanent. No relationship is permanent. No moment is permanent. I therefore give it all my best because this effort which I give is only thing which is in my right. The results are not in my right. What I create is not within my right. So I enjoy it for the moment and don't worry, will it belong to me? Will I have it? Will it stay longer with me? Appreciation doesn't matter to me. It goes over me. Because a good deed will get you appreciation. But that doesn't belong to me. It's for that moment. I have to continue to earn it the next time. So there's nothing called permanent. I have to carry on doing what I think I'm good at, or I'm capable of, or I'm duty bound to.
Once again, Kiran Bedi found herself at the end of one road and the beginning of another. And to combat the new challenges that came with the uncharted terrain, she yet again called upon 3 of her old allies. Her greatest allies over the period of her career once again came to her aid at the next milestone of her journey. They were the instinct to fight, the will to challenge, and the ability to be inventive. In 2015, she entered the arena of politics as BJP's chief minister candidate for Delhi's assembly elections, but faced defeat.
Persons like Kiran Bedi do not get affected in a negative way. They bounce back with much more grit and much more determination, with a much more greater action.
I, Kiran Bedi, do solemnly affirm that I will faithfully discharge the functions of the Lieutenant Governor of the Union Territory of Puducherry.
On the 22nd of May, 2016, Kiran Bedi was appointed as the Lieutenant Governor of Puducherry, a position which was, in her own words, just a rubber stamp. Today, it is a center court of action.
I'm here to serve. I'm not here to serve myself. I'm here to serve from this position of responsibility, which empowers me to serve. It's an empowering position to serve. That's how I define this position. If you ask me, this is the first time I have a position in my life where I'm fully at home with.
Once again, she was thinking out of the box, finding new and smart ways to serve the people. She broke down the walls of red tape, shattered the barriers of bureaucracy, and allowed people to come in.
This is not Raj Nivas, this is Lok Nivas, where anybody can walk in. Why should people wait to be served? Why? So I'm impatient for them. I'm impatient to serve.
If you look at her Twitter account and her Facebook account, you'll see the number of people who follow her. And I think that is a very good reflection of the kind of influence she has. And to have that kind of following, I think is a reflection of the work that she's done, of the credibility that she enjoys.
She works and she is into governance, she's into community development, she's into research, she's into setting role models, she's into setting up systems in place, consumes her 24/7.
Puducherry is just another chapter from the long story of influence and inspiration that has been Kiran Bedi's life. Kiran Bedi has made it a lot easier for the generations of women to come.
More women came into the IPS. More women also started joining the other services. She has become kind of an icon. You can't take her for granted. You have to respect her as an officer and as a gender, both.
It was a huge step in the right direction for the police to have women in it, because a huge number of situations require women to be there. I think for her to open the door for more and more women to join police has been great for the policing itself, because after her joining, when women have joined police, we now have a situation where we cannot imagine policing without women.
There were probably women even before her who had those aspirations or ambitions, but they never thought it could be done, and they never gave it an attempt. But she showed that it could be done. So that is the ripple effect one has by setting an example for people, being an illustration in themselves that yes, this can be done.
She has exhibited exceptional grit all through her life. But was she born gritty? Did she always have the stomach for a fight? Or did she learn the art of war along the way, starting from the tennis courts of her childhood?
You learn architecture when you're small. You learn to understand the material which is built or necessary to build a strong building. After that, you remain an architect for the rest of the floors of your life, but your foundation remains it is. And you even build new foundations, but you train others to build foundations. Because you're an architect by nature now. You're a builder by nature. And you want to help others build. That's what happened, I think, in my life. The early years were getting built.
A child, when he's growing in the family, they typically basically consider that as their world. Because her father himself was a non-conformist, and he was looking at his daughter as an individual, just a child, right? Not because she was a daughter or a son, right? And that basically has played a great role in her future life.
Day after day, challenge after challenge, Kiran Bedi has always put herself back together and surged ahead. There are few medals to show, but many battle wounds to flaunt.
So I would think it's a very blessed life so far. It's been a life of amazing good health so far, brilliant maximum energy, huge support, family support, amazingly rewarding. It's been fully, optimally utilized. It's been a very, so far, challenging, of course. But I love the challenges because the challenges are the ones which have actually made me grow, made me test myself. So it's been a life of a lot of tests. But I passed the test.
At 69, the present Lieutenant Governor of Puducherry continues her journey of service towards her nation. Was she born a path breaker, or was she nurtured into one? Maybe the secret is not a secret after all. She is perhaps simply a product of exceptional sense of justice and neurons that enable her never to walk away from a fight. Through her several roles of being a brave officer, a patriotic civil servant, a thoughtful daughter, a fearless champion of grit and determination, Kiran Bedi's journey to inspire women as well as men is far from over. The Kiran Bedi effect is blowing in the winds of change.